Greetings, friends! I'm Mia, and I'm here to share the tale of how circumstances unfolded between me and my mother-in-law, Rita. Well, to be fair, Rita managed to steer her own ship into troubled waters, but she might believe I played a part in it. If only she hadn't meddled in her son Nigel's marital plans, she could have spared herself the ordeal. Now, let me walk you through the events that led to Rita's toxic influence being expelled from my life. Rita harbored an inexplicable disdain for me, a sentiment seemingly directed at every woman Nigel dated. It was evident that she had an unhealthy attachment to Nigel, perceiving women as threats to her bond with her son. Luckily, Nigel's father, Luke, differed from her in temperament and maintained a warm relationship with me, considering me his daughter. This made it all the more infuriating when I unearthed Rita's shocking betrayal. Rita's animosity reached new heights when Nigel and I announced our engagement. She concocted baseless accusations, alleging that I was unfaithful with my male best friend. The absurdity of her claims, devoid of any evidence, stemmed purely from her suspicions. My best friend and I, having a strong platonic bond since childhood, respected the boundaries set by our respective spouses. Nigel, understanding this, had no concerns, but Rita insisted on fabricating a scandal. In a heated confrontation, Rita tried to convince Nigel that a man and a woman couldn't maintain a close friendship without ulterior motives. She accused me of trapping him due to his good income, dismissing our genuine connection. Nigel staunchly defended our relationship, declaring his trust in my loyalty. Rita persisted, labeling me a deceitful schemer, drawing from her own dubious past. Despite Rita's attempts to tarnish our engagement, Nigel and I proceeded with our marriage. Rita, undeterred, propagated her false narrative, attempting to convince others that Nigel was marrying a cheater. Some family members initially bought into the confusion, but when Nigel set the record straight, they rightfully turned against Rita, extending apologies to me. Nigel, joined by his father, confronted Rita, who showed no remorse but promised to restrain her actions. Hopeful that Rita would mend her ways, I soon discovered that her antics had only just begun. The turning point in Rita's downfall commenced with her next malicious move. When I discovered I was pregnant with our first child, joy enveloped our family. Nigel, brimming with excitement at the prospect of fatherhood, and Luke, thrilled to become a grandfather, shared in the happiness. However, my mother-in-law, Rita, stood out as the exception, harboring unfounded suspicions of my fidelity. As the pregnancy progressed, her claims escalated, alleging that the child was not Nigel's. The situation took a bizarre turn after our son's birth when Rita declared that the baby couldn't be Nigel's based on a perceived dissimilarity to Nigel's own baby photos. Nigel, perplexed by his mother's insistence, confronted her, defending the natural variations in a baby's appearance. Rita, however, insisted that our child's lighter skin tone was evidence of a discrepancy. In the ensuing argument, Nigel reached a breaking point and asked Rita to leave the hospital. Undeterred, Rita immediately spread rumors about our son's parentage, casting doubt among acquaintances. Faced with the escalating pressure, I reluctantly agreed to a DNA test, despite Nigel's unwavering trust in our relationship. As if the situation wasn't tumultuous enough, Luke, Nigel's father, dropped a bombshell during a family conversation. With a grave demeanor, he confessed that recent discussions with a doctor had raised doubts about his biological connection to Nigel. The revelation left us all stunned, particularly Nigel, who struggled to comprehend the possibility. In the midst of this revelation, Luke urged secrecy from Rita and proposed that both Nigel and I undergo DNA testing to uncover the truth. The atmosphere in our household shifted from the initial joy of impending parenthood to an unexpected and bewildering quest for familial clarity. I was resolved to confront Rita once the DNA results were in. She had planned a family dinner to announce the outcome regarding Nigel and my grandson's paternity. Despite the turmoil, I assumed responsibility for managing the situation, as Nigel and Luke were visibly overwhelmed. When the DNA test was completed, Rita eagerly unveiled the results at the dinner, hoping to humiliate me. However, in her eagerness, she grabbed the wrong envelope, inadvertently revealing that the tested individuals were not a match. Rita's exuberance quickly turned to shock as she proclaimed that Nigel wasn't the father of my son, insinuating my infidelity. Rita reveled in the perceived opportunity to undermine my relationship with Nigel, but her joy was short-lived. Unfazed by her accusations, I remained composed, while Luke and Nigel were visibly shaken with anger. Rita, misinterpreting their reaction, intensified her accusations, convinced of my deceit. Nigel, unable to contain his frustration, intervened, expressing unwavering support for me and our family. His defense of our bond and trust in me resonated profoundly, underscoring his commitment. Despite Rita's insistence on the DNA test's infallibility, Nigel challenged her to reconsider, urging her to reassess the results. In the face of Nigel's steadfastness, Rita's certainty wavered, and her accusations faltered. Nigel's unwavering trust in our relationship spoke volumes, reaffirming the strength of our family bond. As tensions eased, it became evident that Rita's misguided suspicions had only served to strengthen our resolve and deepen our unity. I comprehend that you're grappling with shock and sadness, and I know this revelation may seem surreal, but it's the reality, son. Your wife has deceived you. She's orchestrating a scenario where you're unknowingly raising someone else's child. Luke, breaking his silence, spoke with thunderous resolve. Initially frozen in shock and anger, he now found his voice, ready to address the unsettling truth. In response, Luke confronted Rita, recalling her past attempt to pass off Nigel as his own son. The accusation was met with vehement denial from Rita, who retaliated by blaming me for the predicament. As the tension escalated, Luke implored Rita to re-examine the DNA report carefully. He clarified that the document presented pertained to a DNA test conducted between Nigel and himself, indicating no familial connection. Rita, shocked by this revelation, looked at me disbelievingly, realizing her carefully guarded secret of 25 years was unraveling before her eyes. Rita's attempt to expose what she believed was my secret had backfired, exposing her own concealed truth. The gravity of the situation sank in as Luke and Nigel expressed their anger. Rita, sensing the magnitude of her predicament, clutched the report in disbelief, repeatedly reading it as if hoping for a different outcome. In a desperate attempt to salvage her narrative, she insisted, "No, no, no. This can't be true. There must be a mistake. Nigel is Luke's child." The revelation had turned the tables, leaving all of us in a state of disbelief and Rita scrambling to confront the consequences of her own actions. "I'm certain of it. We were actively trying for a child when I conceived Nigel." "Nigel is your child, Luke," Rita asserted. "Oh, really, Rita? So you're suggesting the reports are false, and you didn't cheat on me at all?" Luke countered. "Nigel is your son, Luke. You have to believe me. This witch, Mia, has manipulated you into getting a paternity test to tamper with your report and seek revenge against me. It wasn't just Mia's plan, it was mine as well. Remember how I visited the doctor recently for some tests? The results showed I've been infertile my entire life. I never knew because I'd never seen a doctor before. There's no way Nigel is my son." "No, no, no. This can't be happening. This can't be true," Rita exclaimed, her face draining of color. "I even have a hunch who Nigel's biological father is. It's Fred, your ex before you married me." Rita's reaction confirmed our suspicions. Nigel remained silent, his expression a mix of anger and betrayal. He felt crushed, not just by the revelation, but also by the fear of losing the only father figure he'd known. The disbelief and anger were palpable among everyone present. Rita's own mother looked as if she might faint. None of them knew about Rita's affair or the fact that Nigel wasn't Luke's biological son. It was a devastating blow for Rita, who started to cry as Luke confronted her. Luke's declaration was a balm for Nigel's wounded soul. Assured of his place in Luke's heart, Nigel broke down in tears. Meanwhile, Luke and the others addressed Rita's deceit. "You were right, Luke. You raised my son for 25 years. He is yours," Rita pleaded. "We can forget about the DNA test. Things can go back to normal." "No, Rita. Things will never go back to normal," Luke asserted. "Every time." I gazed at Hugh, and all I could see was the shadow of your betrayal. Nigel might be my son, but you are no wife of mine. A woman who cheats on her husband cannot be my wife. I am going to divorce you, and that's final. No, 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 Luke. You can't do this. We've been married for 30 years. You can't leave me over this. Rita pleaded, her shock palpable, yet her refusal to understand evident. The people around, including her own family, rallied behind Luke's decision, hurling insults at Rita and agreeing with his resolve. Rita, still in tears and in desperation, turned to Nigel, begging for his intervention. Nigel, look at what Luke is saying. He's going to leave me. Please, don't make him leave me. Please make him understand. Don't you dare call me son. I don't want to call you mother anymore. You are the most vile woman I have ever known. You hid my parentage and dragged my wife through the dirt for nothing. Nigel retorted, his anger and disappointment evident. I can't even look at you now. No, no. I am your mother, that is true. I swear I gave birth to you. I am sorry, son. I am so sorry for everything. Please don't hate me. I made a mistake, Rita pleaded, her desperation reaching new depths as she turned to me for support. That's something I never expected to happen, I responded, incredulous at Rita's audacity. Rita, you dug your own grave. You betrayed my husband and my father-in-law for 3 decades. You don't deserve anyone's forgiveness. It was a mistake, Mia. You are an honest woman, and I know you really care about your family. Your new family is about to be broken. Mia, please don't let it happen, Rita implored, her desperation palpable. My new family includes me, my son Nigel, and Luke. You are not my family, Rita, I asserted, firm in my resolve. A woman who treated me so badly and betrayed her own family cannot be my family. I don't want you around me or my son again. Nigel, his voice chillingly calm, made his stance clear. Stay the hell away from me and my family. Dad is doing the right thing by divorcing you. You deserve that. And that's what you wanted, right? You wanted to prove that a son doesn't belong to his father, that a father should divorce his wife. That's what's happening now, Rita. Unfortunately for you, it's happening to your family. Rita's world crumbled around her as Nigel's words sank in. The once warm and loving person now exuded cold resolve. Luke wasted no time in taking legal action, initiating divorce proceedings and starting the eviction process against Rita. Despite her desperate attempts to seek sympathy, her pleas fell on deaf ears. Rita's actions had consequences, and she was about to face them. I only have a small amount of money that I need for a divorce lawyer. I need a place to stay. You can go anywhere you want, Rita. We won't be the ones housing you. Plus, we already told you that we want nothing to do with you. I'm your mom, Nigel. Why are you calling me by my name? I am your mother, Rita protested. This infuriated me. While I was glad Rita was facing the consequences, the paternity fiasco took a toll on both Nigel and Luke. Luke dealt with it in his way, but Nigel was a mess. It pained me to see him cry and struggle while I juggled comforting him and caring for our newborn. Rita acting like it was no big deal angered me. I believe you have already lost that privilege, Rita. From now on, you are just a stranger to us. And Nigel is right. We won't be housing you. Mia, please don't do this to me. My grandson needs his grandma in his life, Rita pleaded. Don't you dare call my son your grandson. Your own son refused to call you mom, and you can't be a grandma to a child you never wanted in your life. Don't try to use my innocent child to guilt us. It won't work. We've had enough of your antics, Rita. It's time for you to leave. Don't bother showing up again, because I will call the cops on you. Trust me, you don't want more legal trouble after this, I asserted. Rita cried and pleaded a bit more before Nigel shut the door in her face. It was satisfying to see her suffer for the chaos she caused. She stayed away until it was time for her to leave Luke's house. She tried to beg and guilt us into letting her in again, but nothing worked. She eventually left when we threatened to involve the police. I heard she was staying with a friend who got her a job in her office as a warehouse worker. The divorce battle was ugly as Rita tried to manipulate things in her favor, but living in an at-fault state, her excuses didn't hold up. They got divorced in 6 months, and she's now miserable, working in a warehouse and earning the minimum. She's been cut off from the entire family, receiving no invites to parties or gatherings. Nigel and Luke are doing much better after therapy. It's heartening to see them maintain a strong bond despite the DNA report. We still have weekly family dinners, and Luke spends time with his grandson often. Overall, we've managed to return to our normal lives while Rita languishes in loneliness and misery.